This week on Arts InSight, it's the summer of Soto in Houston.
I don't think any two experiences are alike.
An Australian adds a blue note to the Houston landscape.
The pigment isn't supposed to last forever.
A trippy bouncy house for adults.
Though it's inflatable, so it's misconstrued as something for children, it is a sculptural artwork.
The tunnel that puts Montrose commuters in an artsy mood.
So just a fun way to play with form.
And a former beauty parlor gets a makeover.
We recreated our grandmother's living room and put it outside.
I'm Ernie Manous, and it's time to get Arts InSight. Hello and welcome to an all-Houston edition of Arts InSight. We're coming to you today from Lawndale Arts Center, where local contemporary artists and audience come together to celebrate the new. We'll check out their big show in a moment. But first, this summer, there's something stringy happening at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. Jesus Rafael Soto's Houston Penetrable is an immersive environment that invites the viewer to wade through a vast structure made of light, color, and 24,000 handmade plastic tubes.
Jesus Rafael Soto is one of the most remarkable artists of the 20th century. Born in Venezuela, the second half of his career took place in France, mainly in Paris. And he was one of an important generation who explored ideas of space, movement, kinetic art, essentially a formalist, thinking and the realization of form using what he knew about human perception in order to realize spectacular works of art like the one behind me here. It was commissioned in 2004, and many Houstonians will remember that we had a similar but much smaller work on loan from a private collection out on Bissonnette. And it was magical to see the interaction of the public with that work, and that gave birth to this much larger piece. Unfortunately, the artist died the following year, but his studio and his assistants continued the engineering necessary to make this work. It's 24,000 PVC strands, all of them hand-painted with yellow in order to realize that perfect ellipse in the center. 8 tons of steel above or below the ceiling, and then of course all the lighting. It was all last summer that 7 people worked to thread each of those strands into the superstructure, the armature, and then it took another 4 weeks this spring in order to mount it here in Cullinan Hall. But it's spectacular. It's been, without question, our most popular work of art and enjoyed by our visiting public. I don't think any two experiences are alike. People bring so much of their own history and memory and experiences. One child came through and said car wash. Other people think of science fiction and space travel. The beauty of the work is that the imagination is set free, and you can experience it either as capturing space, because it is the realization of space, and we become so aware of that cube within that extraordinary fan-shaped volume that Mies van der Rohe created. The perception of that ellipse, which is constantly changing. To me, I like it most from outside and from this balcony, so I can watch individuals inside enjoying it and then watching the color dance as the yellow orb reflects light. But wading through it is a lot of fun too, and taking a selfie inside and then uploading it to your Pinterest or Instagram account and enjoying the printout that we provide here from the printer is a great souvenir to have from the museum. We'll take it down this autumn, and then we'll put it back up from time to time, every 2 or 3 years, as time allows and the space allows. But already a number of my colleagues at other museums have asked to borrow it. So I have a feeling this work has legs, and we'll be seeing it probably around the world in the years to come.
The Summer of Soto ends on September 1st, so see it this month. You can find out more about the exhibit at mfah.org. Welcome to the Lawndale Arts Center. The Big Show is Lawndale's most anticipated exhibit every year because it features some of the most exciting emerging artistic talent. And here to tell us more about it is Lawndale's Executive Director, Christine West. Hello, Christine.
Hello, Ernie.
Okay, it's most anticipated because I think it's the most surprising and exciting of the year.
I think so too. We see new artists every year enter this show. And this year, over 300, almost 400 artists entered to be able to be selected to be in the big show.
Okay, talk a little bit about it. It's a blind audition process.
It is. We ask the artists to bring the work to Lawndale so they can enter up to 3 works, and it's any artist, or really anyone, within a 100-mile radius of Houston. So no matter what you're doing, you can bring your artwork to Lawndale. And then we bring a juror from outside of Houston who doesn't know the community that well, and we just show her the work. There's no bio, there's no CV, and she selects the show from the artworks themselves.
Okay, what does this year's show tell you about the emerging artist scene in Houston?
It tells us that the artistic scene, the creative scene in Houston is really bustling. We had more artists selected to be in this show than before. There's over 106 artists on view right now, and there's 115 artworks. So there is anything and everything from photography, painting, sculpture, installation, video. There's something for everyone at the big show.
So in addition to the joy of actually showing pieces, there are also awards presented.
There are. The jury selects cash award winners each year. This year she selected 3. One of them is an artist who just graduated from Sam Houston State University. Her name's Laura Prejean, and she has an installation piece upstairs that are like chandeliers made of styrofoam and this amazing gilded vacuum cleaner. So she has sculpture, and then there's a painter by the name of Peter Brose who has 2 very different paintings. You can see 2 different bodies of work in the same show.
Now, we're indoors and it's nice and cool in here, but there's art outdoors too. There's the mural and it's changed.
There is. The mural is not part of the big show, but one of our annual programs, and the mural changes every year, usually in the spring, so the artists have better weather to produce a mural in. And this year's mural is by a collective known by Adabinga Jones, and they're located here in Houston, but they're nationally known. They've shown in the Whitney Biennial before. Yeah. And the mural addresses hunger issues, and they have a whole series of programs in and around the 3rd Ward about hunger and having no more food deserts in Houston.
Well, that's just 2 of the things going on here. To find out everything that goes on at Lawndale, where can people go?
LawndaleArtCenter.org has everything you need.
If you want to see the big show, you've got to hurry. It closes on August 9th. Many of the best art exhibits are temporary. In fact, a lot of contemporary art is designed to be fleeting. Up next, we visit the Blue Trees, a public art installation on Memorial Drive that's slowly fading away.
This is part of an arts project that started in 2003, and I noticed how incredibly devastating deforestation was, where we're losing the size of Belgium. That's what was described every year of old forests. And everyone said, well, how can we get that in the front pages of the paper instead of always as a postscript? And I just thought about it, and I said, well, why don't we, almost like a guerrilla attack, go and colour them? Because although the forests are disappearing hundreds of miles away from the urban community, but we don't see that. We decided to use the idea of blue trees because blue trees don't exist in nature. You have red, you have yellow, but the colour blue on a tree doesn't exist. There are flowers that are blue. And so that whole idea of creating something that is surreal started to come about, because then you notice something. The thing that kind of engaged me initially was when I saw the first grove of trees. It's the colour and the trees and the green, and then the change of seasons as becomes this incredibly beautiful landscape. So it has a surreal nature, but it is also quite beautiful. The pigment we use is totally safe for trees. It's ultramarine blue, and it's one of the most ancient of colours. It's a mineral, so it was made from a stone, and you crushed it, and then you added water. It's basically the way you do al frescoes. The pigment isn't supposed to last forever. It's an ephemeral work, and part of what the idea of this art project is about transformation. It's about change and how quickly things go into desert. A lot of people say, what can we do? You know, part of social art is also that we put something out and then we say to people, well, this is what you can do. If you have any ideas, put them forward. There could be a school child here in Houston or in Seattle or in Sacramento who in the future comes up with the actual answer to deforestation and housing. It is the young people today rather than, I think, the staid people that can change it. You don't have to have a PhD to change your environment, you just have to have an idea. I think you've got to kind of relook at the importance of trees and where they will affect you financially through climate change, through a variety of other issues, and really just to continue to question, which is, I think, what art is about. I'd love to be a redwood. You know, I'd love to be a redwood. If you stand next to one, which I have done, it's almost as close to being to God as you can possibly be. And I love the way that they give us oxygen. So if God is that person that breathes life into us, that's what these trees do. They give us life. And I think it's an incredible disrespect to nature for us to do what we're doing. I'm not anti-forestry, but I am about sustainable forestry, managed forestry. Ecocide is not an option anymore. We don't have 3 more hundred years.
There are still some remnants of blue in the trees, so keep a keen eye out for it. It won't be around much longer. And you can find out more about the project at bluetreestexas.org. Last year, a giant bouncy house called Exopolis took over the Great Lawn at Discovery Green. It was a fully immersive environment that was more than just a lot of hot air.
Much like an aquarium holds water, a luminarium holds light. Double X in Exopolis is to indicate 20. This is the 20th sculpture that Architects of Air have made as a company. Setting it up every day is simple. We just turn the fans on, it will go up in 20 minutes. Made from a special PVC that allows the sunlight to come through the coloured areas, and then the silver PVC is opaque so that the sunlight will mix and reflect off the silver. It's literally cutting out many pieces of plastic and hand gluing them together, and it takes around 4 months to construct a luminarium. So when visitors arrive, they'll be invited into our reception area and invited to take off their shoes. They'll enter the airlock, which is the entrance and the exit point for the structure, because we need an airlock to keep the whole space inflated. And then once people walk through into the inside, into the main body of the structure, they're free to wander around, to roam, to sit down and lie down. There are lots of nice little pod areas that they can chill out in. And we hope that people will just do that, just come in, make themselves at home. Even on a cloudy, overcast or rainy day, it's still beautiful inside. And during the course of the day, the light will change. So the quality of light in the morning is different from midday, different to the afternoon. So it's nice to experience it in different states of light. The shapes come from inspiration from nature, from plants, soap bubbles. Some of the inspiration comes from the bazaars of Iran. Although it's inflatable, so it's misconstrued as something for children, it is a sculptural artwork. And there are lots of ways you can enjoy a space that don't involve running and jumping. There's not a prescribed meaning, and that's quite important to the artwork. It's important to have an artwork that everyone can enjoy. It's completely inclusive in terms of accessibility, in terms of age, in terms of enjoyment. Some people will come in and they will connect it to being in a church, others a mosque, inside the body, a spaceship. It really is a space that everyone can have their own experience inside, and it's designed and intended as such.
Exopolis was such a hit the first time around that Discovery Green had it back for a second pass this past spring. No word yet whether they'll be back again, but you can find out where in the world they are now at architectsofair.com. Up next, it's hard to miss the 180-foot funnel tunnel as it snakes its way through the trees on Montrose Boulevard. Houston artist Patrick Renner gives us some insight.
This is Montrose Boulevard, which of course is a main arts corridor from Allen Parkway on up to the CAM, the MFA. So this is a really ideal central location that we're at, where the Art League Houston is sited. There's a fair amount of traffic that comes by each day, so it's great to have something so visible, you know, on a thoroughfare. That is Funnel Tunnel. It was created from a steel armature woven with recycled painted wood. It's 180 feet long, and it's fairly consistently 5 feet in diameter all the way through. The tail end, which tapers to a point, and then on the other end it flows out into a 12-foot diameter bell or horn. So there are 4 trees on the median laid out in kind of a zigzag pattern, and I wanted to make sure that this was in concert with that. You know, maybe it had a conversation that happened with those trees and also with the traffic and with the neighborhood in general, and kind of spoke to the energy of the neighborhood. It's just made out of 2 varieties of steel stock, which is a 3/8-inch round rod and 1/4-inch round rod. So it's a very light framework that we've created, and what that looked like was building these sort of noodles, 5-foot diameter tubes, basically with a very gentle bend, and we made about 14 or 16 of those to the points where it changes shape at the end. So one end is tapered into kind of a hook, like a scorpion's tail, and the other end it bells out into a cone or sort of a trumpet. And so the idea there is that each end is unique and serves a different function. The hooked end was intended to point here to the Art League. For me, the interest in the bell or the cone end was to sort of serve as like an announcement, but also maybe to draw in people's attention. So just a fun way to play with form. After the framework was complete, it became possible to start weaving the material in. So the material that you're looking at on the surface is all from a turn of the century, I guess like 1900s cotton gin, which, you know, I didn't realize anything like that was still around. And so I got all these beautiful, huge, old-growth pine planks that I started ripping them into very thin 1/4-inch strips that were then flexible and able to be woven into the surface. So after I created this bulk of ripped material, I brought it over to the Art League here. I actually used the Texas Art Supply parking lot, which is right next door, and sponsored a painting party where people from the community could come and they could really put their creative mark on it. So it was of huge interest to me that you know, we'd be able to literally have the community show up in the project. It feels great to really draw on the energy of others and to get input too. So like the form was predetermined, but the surface was by no means known to me what that would look like. The color is based on a large number of paints that were left over from people. I was asking for people to give me, you know, like odds and ends that they had laying around in their garage or whatever. And we also had a really nice donation from the Valspar paint company. I guess it's uniformly chaotic on the surface, so it somehow works. There's been a lot of like wonderful conversations and great reactions that people have given, you know, about the project. And so some people have said, is it supposed to be like a bird's head on the end where, you know, where it tapers, or is it a snake, is it a dragon, what is it, you know? And for me it's like, well, I'm interested in what it looks like to you, you know, like I just made the form. It was sort of an intuitive form, and beyond that, whatever is associated with it, great. I think public art is incredibly important because it reflects whatever's going on in society. It can either be something just a pure pleasure, or maybe it can catalyze conversation around different issues. And I think that's really fascinating. And my favorite thing is when people from the neighborhood say, we love this, because after all, they're the ones that have to see it most often. So I'm happy to know that they like what's there.
The funnel tunnel was designed as a temporary installation, but has proven so popular that its lease has been extended through January. To find out more, visit artleaguehouston.org. Finally, tonight, one more temporary installation that resonated with a lot of Houstonians. Streets like Dowling in the heart of the 3rd Ward were once full of mom and pop shops, like the Beauty Box. Once a bustling business, this former beauty parlor fell on hard times along with the rest of the neighborhood. But 2 neighborhood artists reimagined the Beauty Box as a community meeting space with a nod to the past and an open sky.
My name is Robert Hodge,
My name is Philip Pyle.
and this is the Beauty Box. We are in the Beauty Box, and the Beauty Box is like a public installation that's kind of highlighting the time period from the 1960s before integration in 3rd Ward. About 3 years ago, the founder of Project Row Houses, Rick Lowe, gave me a studio house. And inside this house, I found the chest of 3rd Ward back in that time period. And I mean, the lawns were immaculate. I mean, nicely cut. The kids were dressed great. The houses were painted. It was like this sense of pride. I was like, wow, this is not 3rd Ward I kind of know. I know certain parts of this, but like, this is amazing. And so when we kind of got here, we kind of got the idea. We kind of want to recreate that time period and like what happened. And so some people say it was integration. When you are allowed to leave, you like, well, I kind of want to explore and like, this is saying I made it, living here now. And so when those people left, that was a big chunk of people that were really progressive doing things, and they left, and so it just changed the whole landscape of 3rd Ward. And then you have, of course, drugs that kind of got in the mix, but that time period was like a really special time.
I feel like their kids left. They stayed, they got old, and their kids left.
Well, the space was abandoned, so you got to think about this space being raw with like, trash and needles, and it's right directly across from a playground.
We recreated our grandmother's living room and put it outside.
We put up pretty much plywood, and then we covered with a wallpaper, a roller that we got from London. And so this initially lets you like just put the paint in the roller and then roll out, but it makes the wallpaper design. Then from that point, we just kind of started
Getting the
loading the work
furniture.
in.
Yeah,
and then we bolted everything down. A lot of stuff was glued and still screwed in, but that didn't help everything. So at that time period, you definitely had Coretta and Martin. You definitely had JFK and Jackie, and you definitely had a Jesus somewhere in your house in that time period. Like those things were like.
Yeah, my grandmother actually has that exact image in her house of JFK and Jackie. Yeah. And then on her kitchen table, she has pictures of Jesus underneath the plastic covering. The grandmother didn't necessarily have like, you didn't know what style she was going for that day, but you definitely knew she liked flowers and she liked chickens.
This guy from the neighborhood, he came in and he was like, when I saw this table, I almost cried. This is the same table that my mother wouldn't let me eat on for dinner. And he just loved it. He said, I promise nobody will mess with the space. And for the most part, nobody stole big items. Little things were stolen, but he seemed really touched, and it really touched me because that was somebody who wasn't in the art world. He wasn't a buyer or a collector. Man, that made this whole space, like no matter what happens, that night was like the most special to me because they got connected. They knew exactly where we were coming from with it. More than about telling the story, also we wanted to activate a space that was nothing. It's so many spaces in the 3rd Ward that need to be activated. And so we kind of like wanted to be that kind of forefront, like saying, take a space in your neighborhood or that part of 3rd Ward you're in and activate it. Make it into something else, because you change the landscape when you do that.
Take a second to just think about like that time period, maybe like a family respect, maybe that sort of thing.
We're here now, and a lot of young people are moving back. And so we just want to like, kind of have these discussions on what can we do? Like, how can we just convince people to like, man, pick up the trash. You're drinking a beer, it's a trash can right here, just throw it away. I mean, a lot of people don't know, so you can't get mad. It's just, that's what they've seen their whole life. And so we just want to like lead that discussion on what can we do. We're here now, we want to change the landscape. Are you going to join us and get 3rd Ward back to like that, that really great community that we want to see?
We've had 2 movie screenings. We had a Monopoly Club meeting where everybody came out and played Monopoly, and then 2 concert series and
then artist talks. That way we can talk to elders, to young people, and we kind of dialogue and like kind of come up with some solutions and not just talk, but like things we can put down on paper and some things everybody can commit to doing. we are planning to have like a family dinner, like the last day, like invite all our families out, and we're just gonna eat out here for the last time before it breaks down.
And my grandmother asked that when we're done with this, could she have the chickens?
Yeah.
She was like, just make sure to bring me those chickens.
You can find the Beauty Box on Tumblr at Third Ward Beauty Box. And that's a wrap for this episode of Arts InSight. Join us again next week for a full episode on stories on artful architecture in Houston. Until then, for all of us here at Houston Public Media, I'm Ernie Manous. Thanks for watching and have a great week.